because I moved now back to Nairobi at the law courts, and that's where they are being brought, we would also go to peep in the court to see this Raila Odinga, who is alleged to be in the Nini.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a young Raila, much younger Raila than now.
Let's
so you want to know about the coup?
Yeah, the coup, but then also you see you're in Nairobi. So the coup is touching you.
The coup has happened when I'm in Nakuru.
Sorry.
Rarita has come to knock on my door early morning, and she's asking me, have I heard? I had not heard. She's telling me there is a coup, and I have to open the door to hear the words properly because I'm thinking I'm not hearing.
Yeah.
And she tells me government is no more. You know, it's the army. So we go now to her house to listen to the radio properly. And I'm now thinking in my mind, I'm happy and not happy. Happy for change, but also very sad because you have fears of the unknown, you know? And
explain to a generation that has never known Kenya had a coup, or to a generation watching this that needs to understand, what was this coup?
This coup was the army taking over, overthrowing Moi and taking over. And how they did that is to capture the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and to get one of the best known broadcasters of the time,
the Air Force,
Leonard Mambo Botela of KBC, to come and announce to Kenya and the world that there has been an overthrow of the Moi government. The army has taken over, and the chairman of whatever they were calling, either Redemption of the Revolutionary Council, is Captain Hezekiah Ochuka.
Ochuka, yes.
Yeah. So, and then there were soldiers guarding VOK because any announcement to the contrary means they've been whatever. So we in Nakuru were only hearing. You remember there was no mobile phones at that time. But those with telephones are getting to know that there is fighting in Nairobi, people have died, there is looting in the streets and all that. So all those you get to see in the newspapers more the next day.
Yes.
But you're not hearing the gunshots, except if on radio they, whatever you to hear. So. And
you're in Nakuru, and Nakuru is a very, it's close to, is it close to Kabarak? Yes.
Yeah.
And Kabarak being the place where President Moi lived.
Nakuru, there was nothing.
There was nothing, huh?
It was just deserted. People stay at home. Everybody had fear. You don't know what is happening. You hear the army has taken over. So nobody went anywhere. And I'm thinking like it was a weekend. If it wasn't a weekend, it's that we never went to work.
Yes.
Yeah, but check 1st of August, 82. Because it was 1st of August. Yeah, because I don't remember thinking even about work. We just stayed home. The same day, it is announced again that the coup has been defeated by loyal forces led by General Mohamud. So the coup was short-lived.
Yeah, 6 hours at max.
Yeah.
Technically, we have 6 presidents. But
so in Nakuru, we did not get any of that commotion.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, but then how then does this change the climate of the nation, especially with you now transitioning and going to Nairobi? It
means that week you are not going to Nairobi because Nairobi still has its own disturbances. Yeah. I went to Nairobi after a cool 10 days after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what's the history of the coup? Who are these people and why were they trying to attempt to take over the government?
They were unhappy. Remember, there is unhappiness even before Kenyatta dies, repression. After Moi has a grip, the repression continues. Yeah. There were many things happening, and I told you, I do not think this was before the Jonjo inquiry or whether it was after.
Yeah.
And after the coup, it's not only the soldiers who are arrested. Even Raila is arrested and alleged to be part of it. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was never really prosecuted, which means they didn't have evidence.
And for context, how many years was he jailed for?
He stayed in, after they tried the charges, the next thing is detention because he was never tried.
Yes.
And detention doesn't give you any story because there's no proof. Wow. Yeah. So That it is best to check his biography when he was later released, but we do remember.
And it was for years, not for months.
And because I moved now back to Nairobi at the law courts, and that's where they are being brought, we would also go to peep in the court to see this Raila Odinga, who is alleged to be in the Nini.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a young Raila, much younger Raila than now. And even the soldiers were young people.
At that time, did you ever imagine or fathom that you and Raila would be holding hands?
No, it's not on the horizon.
Yes.
But I must say this, although it was not in the fore of my mind, that when I was in high school in Form 4, I'd actually said I'll one day be member of parliament for Kirinyaga East, as Gichugu then was.
What?
Yeah, I was telling a girl called Damaris from Kandara, and I just jokingly said, you'll be the member for Kandara and I'll be the member for Kirinyaga East. You see? We are told what you confess with your mouth.
It comes to pass. So you come to Nairobi and you're a magistrate. Where are you stationed at this time?
At the law courts, which was now the Supreme Court building.
Okay.
That was a station in Nairobi. Yeah.
And what's your you've in quote unquote attained your dream. What's your next pursuit? Because you sound like somebody who focuses on something and you attain it.
I wanted to make a career in the judiciary and rise to a judge, rise to the ultimate.
Yes.
Yeah, and I worked for 6 years. I was on contract, 3-year contract.
Wow.
And I left. By then I had 1 child and 1 on the way.
Martha, this is CTA. You can't fast forward like that.
And the pay was so little. I told you of 3,000.
Yeah.
And I thought I needed more money to raise a family or to contribute to the family income. And therefore I left.
Okay. But even before you leave in, you see there is this period from the coup to your first child.
I've come back to Nairobi.
Yes. My question more so is about, after the coup, does this then affect how it is, how even your work environment, in terms of the work that you're doing, the environment that's...
I was not very politically attuned. I continued working just as before. And those who came, I remember the current Speaker Wetangula, who was 1 year behind me in college, was also a magistrate. And he left to start private practice.
Yes.
And he was representing the coup plotters, you know?
Whoa.
Some of them. He even represented, I think, I don't know whether he represented Ochuka, but he represented quite a number. Remember, most advocates don't want to be associated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's representing them in the courts, and he was doing quite well. And
but representing him in a time of Moi.
Yeah, you know, the young lawyers are the bold lawyers. Before later, he now becomes a Kanu person. The younger Wetangula was participating just like any young lawyer should.
But I can imagine if and it's sad that I have to say this, but it is a reality of the situation. I can imagine with the powers as a president has, and I know it says the judicial should be independent, the executive, all these different arms. But was there, actually what I'm trying to ask then is, was there any influence?
I'm sure there was.
Did you receive any influences too?
Not on the coup cases, because I was too junior to be trying a coup case. So I'm doing routine things. An advocate is never too junior to do anything. But in the court hierarchy, they may not bring, when they want to influence, they'll take where they can be able to put in a word. So I didn't do any of the coup cases. But later on I did sedition cases when I was a senior resident magistrate and almost nearing my exit. And I remember at one time the director of public prosecutions coming to my office to ask me to take plea, I had already been asked by the registry to stand in for the chief magistrate. It was an afternoon. Pleas are taken in the morning, and the chief magistrate had gone. So they came to request if I could go to court number 1 and take a plea, which is a strange thing in the afternoon. And I said, if the chief magistrate is not there and they brought somebody, well and good, I'll go down. Before I go down, who comes to my office? Mr. Chunga, the DPP. And he's dropping a hint. He's not asking me. He's dropping a hint that the person will be pleading guilty. It's sedition. And sedition is a political offense.
Oh,
you know, it's no longer in our books that the person is pleading guilty and they'll be looking for a sentence of up to 15 months. He's trying to hint. I told him I'm well versed in criminal law and I do not require assistance, just politely, and he left. So I went to court, the person pleaded guilty. I ensured, or rather satisfied myself, that indeed that was his plea, because I was telling him, even if he has pleaded guilty, he should reconsider whether the facts as read are true, and if they are not, he is at liberty to enter a plea of not guilty before I convict.
Okay.
That's normally the procedure. So once I did that and the person affirmed his plea of guilty, you sentence, you convict, and you go on to sentencing. And after that incident, no such other plea was ever brought to me. So I never did any other political case. I don't think they found me a very accommodating.
Yes. Yeah. But you're saying some things, and these things may sound normal, but I'm just, in my mind, when the understanding clicks and the light bulb comes on, I'm like, what? So this is a political case, and maybe the person is under duress from the pressure that they are getting. Has been in
custody for longer than should.
Yes.
Maybe has been tortured, but there is no visible whatever. And the law requires you ask them, have you been coerced? Is this truly your plea? If they affirm, you enter a plea.
And because you can't get them to say you're not guilty, I know you're not guilty. Once they say I'm guilty, your job is your job.
Yeah, then you proceed.
It's not your job to manipulate the...
You just satisfy yourself that they understand they have no obligation.
Wow.
And that they can change plea anytime before conviction. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And did you go to different, or were you in the law courts?
I was in the law courts for a while. Imagine from the period I was asking for more work. And then I was promoted and I was posted to Makadara as the in charge.
Nice.
I went as in charge Makadara and I stayed there for like 2 years. In fact, I had my daughter when I was in Makadara. Then I moved back to the law courts and was then posted to Kibera as in charge. Okay. My second contract ended when I was in Kibera and I left the judiciary. I didn't wish to renew the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a second child on the way and 3,000 wasn't it.
You know, this whole time, men have not been... You're a holistic person, Martha. So I don't want to skip over this unless it's something you don't want to speak about, which I'll gladly cut out. That means at this time now you're getting to the point, it's the first time I'm here, but then, you know, you don't just get a child, you get into a relationship or...
Yeah, when I came back to Nairobi, I met this army major doctor.
And